Hello everyone, Kurt is here, and I'm going to start a new series of videos, starting with this one. And videos will be about the Ergo protocol, its basic properties, and also state of development, and also philosophical and ideological principles the Ergo movement is based on. And this first video is about forking. So attitude towards forking in the core devs circle and the community in general, and also how forking is related to the principles of the Ergo movement. So in Ergo we have section 2 in the white paper called Ergo Vision, and currently this is kind of constitution, so maybe we will have more explicit document in the future. So if you're interested, you can join and you can work on that. Okay, so the basic principles are the following. So decentralization first. Ergo is created for regular people, not corporations or governments. Ergo is a platform for contractual money, right? So it's for decentralized financial contracts. Ergo should have long-term focus. Okay, and Ergo should stay permissionless and open always. Alright, so if we are talking about forks, usually they are pretty bad if we are talking about decentralization, right? So I used to be a co-developer of NXT, and NXT had a few community splits because of forks, right? One community split resulted later into creation of waves and so on. So probably about Bitcoin story, right, where there were different splits. So Bitcoin and maybe better to say Bitcoin Core in this context, Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin Cash, and so on. Right, and then there were some splits inside splits. So for example, Bitcoin Cash has some messy story about that. So usually it's not so good then to fork, right? Especially when you are insanely forking like Monero. So then you have splits, and usually, for forks, you need for some benevolent leader, right, leading the movement and causing splits on the way, usually, or often, right? And so sometimes forks are okay, right? So sometimes they are needed. For example, for bug fixing, for some critical bug fixes. Take a look, for example, into recent emission bug fix in Ravencoin, and also inflation bug fix in Bitcoin back in 2010, and so on. So sometimes forks are just needed, right? Because there are some bugs, right, in the code. And also often forks are done in order to make proof of work more decentralized. Right, so that's the reason for many forks in Monero, right, and also Ravencoin, and so on, right, and Bitcoin, for example, never made forks in order to improve mining centralization or decentralization issues. What we can think then is that forks are usually must be avoided, right? But sometimes you need to do forks anyway to fix security issues and so on. Then it was declared even before mainnet launch that forks will be avoided at any cost, right, in Ergo. But also, well, it was a blog post published immediately after mainnet launch, maybe a few days after. That's well, in case of security issues, well, it will be a hard fork, but to the moment there was no any hard fork. So since mainnet launch, so for 15 months to the moment, Ergo is working well without any consensus level fixes. But what do we have to the moment? As you may know, so Ergo proof of work is pull resistant, right? And yeah, it should be memory hard, but some possibilities to avoid memory hardness were found on the way. So thanks to big evil solo miner who pointed to them. So it seems we have now centralization of the mining power. So it seems there are just a few big players in the space, so large firms with a lot of GPUs. So there is no evidence that there are FPGAs or ASICs in the game, but yeah, probably there are few large firms in the game, right? And they're using private software, so they're using optimizations, and yeah, so they are bypassing memory hardness of the proof of work algorithm, likely. But yeah, there are many opinions actually about that. But anyway, if a new miner with a small rig with just a few GPUs is willing to join Ergo mining, so then it's not quite possible, right? Because, well, public software is not competitive, it seems, and there are no pools. So then usually a miner is coming to the mining channels and forum, Discord, Telegram, right, the general chats, but nobody is willing to help, and basically that's because there is no incentive to help, right? So usually, well, a pool can help because pool has incentive to have more miners aboard, right? So to earn more, basically. But in this case, in case of Ergo mining, so there are no pools, right? So nobody can help you. So it's not possible to modify public miner for like 99% of small miners and so on. So then our first principle, so decentralization first, is quite compromised, right? And yeah, it's not also very much permissionless, right? So the last principles is also not met. Aside of proof of work, there are some security issues found. Well, during code audits So they are not very critical maybe, and can be fixed without forks, but well, if we are doing hard fork, then they can be fixed in a cleaner way. And also, well, it was proposed to do a hard fork for better support for soft forks in the future in regards with our contractual level development. Right, so it will be possible to upgrade well, the contractual level, the sigma level, without forks, hard forks in the future, just soft forks, if some proper support for that will be added. And also, well, there are proposals to change certain things in the protocol in order to achieve via soft forks some sublog confirmation protocols in the future, such as Bitcoin NG or Flux protocol. Okay, then based on that, it seems that well, we can do a hard fork, considering that violation of basic principles is kind of security issue. Right, and yeah, there are also some security issues, not critical, well, again, but yeah, it would be good to fix them in one batch. Okay, so on the other hand, well, hard fork is not good for sure, and yeah, it's about a lot of pain, right, especially for me, right, and other code developers, because we need to work with exchanges, we need to inform node operators, and so on, so a lot of work, right, and then yeah, if we are going to change proof of work, and it seems we are going to change it, then we need to consider difficulty at the moment of the switch, and we need to work with pools. So for hard fork, we need support for from the pools and so on. All right, and yeah, so about updated proof of work. So there is some candidate which was initially reviewed by BQL Solar Miner, right, and it looks good, and well, the algorithm is pretty similar to the initial proof of work algorithm, Autolycos, just with memory hard bypassing holes fixed, right, and also pull resistant switched off. So it seems that yeah, pull resistance was indeed quite interesting experiment. Right, maybe the first one in the space. I'm not so sure, but maybe yes. And yeah, also it was well, it was not so bad, right? So at least unlike many proof of work coins, we didn't have attacks using rented mining power, right? So these days this is a huge issue for many proof of work coins, including Ethereum Classic, for example. And happily, well, Ergo early days were quite well, right, and yeah, so it wasn't so bad to have pull resistant proof of work, but also it seems that after all, well, pull resistant proof of work is friendly to huge firms, right? So initial idea was to be friendly also to medium-sized firms, like with 100 GPUs, well, to 1000 GPUs, let's say. And yeah, there are thousands of firms around the world of this size, maybe tens of thousands even. right? So it's not so bad, right, to target this class, but it seems that such firms are just mining uh, using pools, something classic, right? So they're not much interested, and they're not competitive, right? And Ergo currently is for large firms with thousands or tens of thousands GPUs, so with professional teams modifying software and so on, using private miners. So then, yeah, we are doing hard fork, it seems. The date is not finalized. Maybe it will be in the mid of December. So in the best case, maybe mid-January. So let's see. So it would be good to make it before Chinese New Year, right? But yeah, also it would be good to make it before Christian Christmases, but let's see. Alright, and after this fork, what I can predict, we will have a lot of small miners jumping aboard, right? So we will have recognition around small miners, and that's good. So we need to use this possibility to promote Ergo around proof of work cycles. And then we also will have new active community members from miners, right? And from observing other communities, these miners are usually asking for new hard forks immediately, as there are some signs that there are some huge private firms in the space, right? So unknown players not using pools, or that there are FPGAs or ASICs in the space. And then we will have likely new rounds of hot discussions what to do in this case. So whether FPGAs and ASICs are okay or not at all. I don't really know what's good here, so I don't really have any opinion at the moment. And it seems we need also to work on community based decision mechanisms, right? So definitely there will be some loud voices in the Ergo space, right, asking for forks for one reason or another, but if there is some loud voice, that doesn't mean that a fork is needed. Also, that doesn't mean that community is really supportive, and so on. So there are a lot of issues, as usually, about decision making. So we need to consider what will we do in future. Alright, so in general, and concluding, Ergo is very conservative about forks, not just in theory, but also in practice, right? So usually, for almost 1 year and a half, most of proof of work coins have some forks, and to the moment Ergo didn't have any fork. So there is one fork coming, right? So for end user there is nothing to worry about. So the protocol will be the same, right? So all the changes are quite invisible to an end user, right? So there will be no change in monetary policy for sure. Such changes are impossible. Right, so there were some proposals, even from me to change storage rent period, for example, but they were rejected, right? For sure. Yeah, it's pretty clear that critical parts of the protocol cannot be changed. Right, and yeah, we can do forks for critical security issues, right? And we are doing a fork to change proof of work function, considering that there are some issues about that. But then, yeah, Ergo community is exploding, and well, then it's not just about developers and initial circles to define what's needed in order to do a fork. So yeah, let's have discussions after the fork. What's needed for a next hard fork? And developers are trying to avoid hard forks at any cost, so we will have better support for soft forking with the hard fork coming. And also, we have flexible parameterization of the blockchain, right? So block size, effective block size is already a few times bigger than initially, and so on. So yeah, hopefully we will not have hard forks in the future, in the best case. But let's see. So the idea is that this is should be about community decision, and we also need to improve decision making mechanisms in the Ergo community. That's it. Thank you for your attention. Have a good day. Bye.